Hello, everyone. How are you today? We are back for another episode of the Wired for Success podcast. Last week, we did tell you that this conversation was not over. The conversation around building bridges over building barriers. And today, we want to put the focus on moving from I need to stay in control from a parent's point of view to I need to stay connected to my teen. So when you look at control, control elevates and maximizes barriers between you and your team. But when you look at connection, it really brings bridges, it brings empowerment, and it also brings belonging and being able to say, well, I can freely discuss things with my mom or with my dad. So today we'll be putting the accent on this. When you look at our lives, everyone's lives, we are in some way conditioned, let's be honest, to always be in control. When our lives are in control, it means that, it is seen and taught as normal, as the correct way, as the proper behavior to have. When people are messy, you will find you will find that it's not correct. So we're thinking I'm talking about messy as in a physical way, but if you think about messy in a behavior way, for example, that will be not having the correct or normal behavior. It seems out of control. And that's what people say normally. Oh, this person is out of control. They can't control this and that. So when you look at it in general and from the point of the society, the lives that we live, it seems something that is far away, but now we're bringing it back to a relationship between you and your team and how control here now will create many barriers, barriers you don't want. So, Steve, tell us what we will talk about.
Well,
Tell us more.
excuse me, you've just covered some great points there, Patience. And if if you think about it from being quite young, those of us who can go back further than the lives of our teens, so that's all parents and so on. If we go back in time, we can pull out a lot of examples of where we've been taught or led to believe, or whatever you want to call it, that we need to be in control. We need to be in control of stuff like our finances. And kind of that makes sense, doesn't it? If we're not in control of our finances, we won't be able to feed the family toward the end of the week or the month or whatever it is. We need to be in control of the way we behave in public. There's a ton of things. You don't need me to give you all those examples, but just think about it. There are a lot of societal pressures upon us that mean we need to try to stay in control. So it's hardly surprising that when something our team does, we fight for that control. Hey, I'm the boss. I'm the adult here. I'm the grown up. I've got more experience than you. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try to do my best to be in control of this situation. And like you said a few minutes ago, what do we do when that happens? The barriers go up, and we start, all the usual stuff: the door slamming, or the walking away, or the shouting at each other, and nobody really wins.
Mm,
We all lose in that particular scenario, and that's sad. But yet, one of the things that sometimes happens is that a team will display a behavior. They do something that might be considered a bit crazy. Let's say, but I don't know why this came into my head. Let's say they go out and graffiti a wall and they get caught. So the gut reaction of the parent is, I need to take control of this. I need to go for them. I need to make sure they understand that what they did was wrong. And then I'm going to go and make them clean it all up. Blah, 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 blah. So there's a load of implications that go with spray painting the tiger, whatever it was, on a wall down the high street.
mm,
But the thing is, the reason that happens is because fear kicked in. The parent was scared. The parent was scared because they didn't stay in control of their team. that their teen did something that's potentially a legal issue, they may end up in court. So I'm picking on an extreme example here. And the gut reaction is to explode.
Mm.
So to react straight away, this has happened, react. It may well be that the teen did what they did as an expression. Okay, it was pretty misplaced and not the best way of expressing themselves, but perhaps it was an expression to something they were feeling, to something they were going through, to something that's happening in their world. But we need the opportunity to be able to talk about that. And to get that opportunity, if we react and only react and, that we blow the top off our kettle, as it were, that's not going to get a conversation. That's just going to get more barriers. So we need to learn how to regulate our responses. And it's hard work. I'm not saying it's easy. When we're scared because of what's going on, we feel this fear. We might not name it as fear initially, but I think if we really looked at it, that's what's going to come out. We need to learn how to regulate the way we respond. Now, there's a dead simple way of doing that. We just stop what we're doing, intentionally breathe. So we breathe in through the nose, hold the breath out through the mouth. Do that 2 or 3 times. Doesn't take long, really not long, a few seconds. And then when we've done that, that puts us in a better place to respond. And we might even want to say something like, do you know what? This is pretty serious. I can't manage this right now. What I need to do is think about it. It is important, but I want to come back with a clear head. You've taken the heat. The heat has kind of dissipated because of that. Team's not going to be happy with that response, but at least they didn't get an explosive mouth thrown in their direction, So what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Something popped into my head when you were talking, and I want to say something. So basically, we have to be really honest with ourselves. When we were teenagers, we were told when you be an adult, when you 18 or when you over 21, whichever age limit is in your country, you'll be able to do as you wish. Or when you be a parent, you'll do as you think is best. So let's be honest, there's a little bit of ego often that comes in with the control. And you do also want to have your turn as a parent and be the one saying, well, if this is my roof, which I'm sure many people have heard, this is my roof. As long as you're here, you do as I say. Those are things that have been part of your education, probably. You might have not heard it exactly in those words, but along the line, something along those lines. So yeah, there's a little bit of ego in saying, well, it feels good that now I'm in this position where I'm in control. I'm the one who gives the rule. I'm the one who says this or that. Now, coming back to the topic of today, even though this happens, and even though you can be honest with yourself and say, yes, I've got a bit of my ego there that is coming, what we are really accentuating here is that what did you think it did to you when you were a teenager? Really, like, let's be honest. When you heard those phrases, when you felt like you hit a wall when you wanted to explain something to your parents, and they weren't even getting, or they weren't even in position to listen to what you had to say. So now, as you are in this position, what can you do differently? And what can you bring in differently in your communication so that instead of barriers, you're building bridges?
Yeah, brilliant. I love that. I just want to jump back to ego, but we're not going to discuss ego today because we'll be here for 20 episodes without finishing properly. But think about the ego. When something happens, you're the parent, teen does something crazy or something that's upsetting or something, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. Your ego is very, very quick to respond. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
It's very quick. It's responded almost before you open your mouth and the words come out.
Mhm.
And when the first word comes out, the ego feeds the rest of the words. If we stop, I talked about stopping, pausing, taking a breath, an intentional breath, or two or three. That also slows the ego down.
Mm.
And we know that psychologically, so it does do that.
Yeah.
So that intentional breath sounds so stupidly simple, but yet it's so very, very important and extremely effective. So that's something we should bear in mind. And based on what you've just been talking about, patience, how many parents out there think that the book stops at them? Because we're pretty much told that that's the way it is. You're the parents, you're in charge, you're in whatever. The book stops with you.
Mm.
So if we get that ingrained into our mind, into our ego, and all the rest of it, it's quite difficult to overcome it. So we do need to interrupt what's going on in our world as much as we may need to interrupt what's going on in the world of the team.
Yeah. That's right.
So it's a big subject. It's a great subject. But anybody out there is feeling confused right now, unsure, uncertain, drop us a message, leave us a comment. Do what you need to do. Get in touch with us. We will always respond. Patience, back to you.
Okay. So, and when we are we still on the topic? Yes, we are. Okay. So, when you think of this topic as well, another thing that comes from control is that there is this idea of conformism. So everybody, so the like I said previously, the correct behavior, the normal behavior. Well, truly, there's no normal behavior or there's no abnormal behavior. Why am I saying that? Because everyone is an individual, everyone reacts, thinks differently. There might be your children, they might have been in the same household, you might have grown up, you will have different views from your brothers and sisters, for example. Now, when you think of this and you think of how one of your child or your teenager might react to something, that's something that can come in your mind as something to help you with the pause. Hold on, why are you doing this? I never told you how to do this. You've gone and done graffiti on a wall, blah blah blah. People are gonna say I didn't I didn't raise you well, da, da, da. All of those things that are coming. Okay, everyone thinks differently, everyone reacts differently. What happens to get your teen to do this? First, I think first thing is you won't be able to answer it yourself. Therefore, what we spoke about last week, you need to bring the bridge to have the communication with your teenager.
I think about just a thought about bridges. I saw something with my grandson. It was the military building a bridge across the river, and they used special vehicles to make this bridge so that they could get the trucks over the river that couldn't drive in the river. They did it in like minutes. Really great. It was quite cool to watch. Very well organized, very quick. We can't build bridges like that. It's a bit like the saying that Rome wasn't built in a day. No, it wasn't. And bridges aren't either, not unless you're in the military and you've got all the heavy duty equipment. So we need to build bridges almost one length of wood or whatever it is that you're using, but almost one piece at a time.
Yes.
And we do that by making small changes, small shifts. Maybe we need to do it by saying something different,
Mm.
showing up in a slightly different way. I want to understand why you did that rather than I'm going to have a go at you for doing that. Or rather than we talked about teaching last week, parent says, let me teach you something. Well, that's not really a great way to go. Sometimes we have to teach things, but not always, not all the time. So it's better to, as a parent, try to learn who your teen is becoming.
Yeah.
You can have a great conversation. That's bridge building, so I'm going to be quiet now.
No, completely agree with what you've just said. And I think it was just it's just saying more of what I said previously in terms of like how do we create that connection? So we started by saying we are moving from I need to stay in control to I need to stay connected to my team. So all you have to look at is one word. Think of one word, connected, connection. Every time you are in the midst of the heat, in the heat, sorry, just think of connection, connection, connected. And if you have a worry about this, if you don't really understand this concept, if it's difficult for you to even get to stay connected because your son or your daughter keeps on escalating the situation, contact us. We will be able to guide you and to give you strategies or even to help you into understanding more how you can build more bridges. And on that, I think we will finish this episode. So we will see you next week. Just think of it. One word today you have to think of. Actually, two words. Connected, bridges. Connection, bridges. All right. Thank you
Brilliant.
so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.